Anyway, we're here for another 2 hours, and we start right now with a Fox News alert.
Yeah, if you missed this over the weekend, we're going to start with a Fox News alert in the wake of that deadly London attack, or several attacks. President Trump is vowing to keep America safe and to obliterate terrorism.
The commander-in-chief saying the bloodshed must end.
Kristen Fisher is live at the White House with what the president is saying this morning and tweeting. Hey, Kristen.
Hey guys, good morning. Well, in the immediate hours after the London attack, President Trump took to Twitter to remind Americans why he believes that his travel ban, which is still stuck in court, is so necessary. Well, now this morning, he's making an even more aggressive push and shying away from any shred of political correctness. Moments ago, he said on Twitter, quote, "People, the lawyers and the courts can call it whatever they want, but I'm calling it what we need and what it is, a travel ban." He then said the Justice Department should have stayed with the original travel ban, not the watered-down, politically correct version that they submitted to the Supreme Court. And he's now urging the Justice Department to ask for an expedited hearing before the Supreme Court. Well, at an event last night here in Washington, he spoke about this latest attack for the very first time.
This bloodshed must end. This bloodshed will end. As president, I will do what is necessary to prevent this threat from spreading to our shores and work every single day to protect the safety and security of our country, our communities, and our people.
President Trump is now offering the British Prime Minister the full support of the U.S. government. Remember, they had just sat down at the NATO summit in Brussels 10 days ago to talk about the bombing in Manchester, and now this, the third time in less than 3 months that he's had to call her about a terror attack in her country.
All right.
Ainsley and Steve.
Kristen Fisher on the North Lawn. We thank you very much. Also in Washington, D.C. this morning is Michelle Malkin. Michelle, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
The president also tweeted out, after talking about how we need the travel ban, he also tweeted this: in any event, we are extreme vetting people coming into the United States in order to keep our country safe. The courts are slow and political. All right, what do you think of the president making his push? Once again, we need the travel ban. We're extreme vetting right now, but we need the travel ban, temporary.
Yes. Well, I'm glad to see him assert what is a historically plenary power that the president has to exclude any kind of threats to this country. And in fact, it is a power that he can invoke to exclude anyone for any reason, whether it's national security or economic security. And I have to say that whatever disagreements people may have in this country about this president, the things he stands for and the things he says, one thing has been absolutely consistent. Before he took office and as he has taken office, he has been singularly focused on the threat of radical Islamic terrorism. He has never wavered from it, and for that I am extremely grateful, and every patriotic American should be. It is moments like this latest attack, or Manchester, or the dozens of them that have occurred over the last couple of years across Europe and in our own country that are very clarifying. It shows you, whether you're talking about the media or Hollywood or the Democratic leadership, where people's priorities really are.
Right.
And you get to see that we have a president who does believe in defending, protecting, and preserving our country and its laws.
Well, here it is, Ramadan, and the way these Islamic extremists celebrate Ramadan is trying to kill us. They're on a bit of a roll. 3 hits in 3 months in London, 7 overall hits throughout Europe since 2017, and many people are weighing in on the reasons why, including the former Secretary of State, John Kerry. He said this on Meet the Press.
They've had a long-standing problem with respect to greater levels of alienation, a harder time assimilating into the broader British society, a lack of similar opportunity. So there are a lot of ingredients.
So, Michelle, what do you think about that? He's saying the terrorists are attacking us because they feel alienated.
They're alone.
Yeah, that's right. Ainsley, this is the fundamental misdiagnosis among progressive leftists and enablers of jihad. That somehow the problem lies with our inability to accept and tolerate the vast numbers of Muslims that are coming into Western countries, not because they embrace our values, but because they hate them. They're completely integrated into society. We have welcomed so many of the leaders of these al-Qaeda cells. They go to Las Vegas and they go to strip clubs like the 9/11 hijackers did. They allow themselves to ingratiate themselves into our communities. And you know what? They exploit Western liberties.
Sure.
They exploit our toleration of their extremism. And then only after dozens and dozens of these attacks, not only on hard targets, but increasingly soft targets, do you have clueless people who are just, completely taken over by dimitude, like Theresa May, finally acknowledging that, gee, maybe we've accepted too much extremism within our borders. You think?
Yeah, no kidding. The police over in London say the attackers' names will be released as soon as it is operationally possible, whatever that means. There are some drips and drabs, however, coming out about some of the dead terrorists. Apparently, one of them has an Irish ID card. He had lived in Dublin, although he was born in Morocco. And then there's another story about a woman who apparently called the cops about her neighbor because she was the terrorist was radicalizing children over in the park and tried to do that to her child.
That guy appeared in a documentary on terrorism.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is the thing. They proclaim their motives so loudly, and yet the louder that they talk about what their aims are, their intents and goals are, the louder so many apologists for jihad try to deny the obvious. I mean, they're screaming out, Allahu Akbar, and this is for Allah, and all of a sudden, what do you get in response? You get all of the liberal media headlines that, gee, the motive is still unknown, when they're screaming it at the top of their lungs.
So why are liberals so upset with the president's tweets about speeding up the process with the Supreme Court when you have those guys over in Europe that are trying to radicalize kids on a playground? Do we really want them here?
Of course we don't want them here. And in the case of the radicalization in free speech parks in the middle of London, they're holding up their signs that say, behead all those who insult Islam. They've been doing this for decades now. And as I said, it is the exploitation of our Western liberties and tolerance that have spelled the demise. I mean, it's Arnold Toynbee, the historian, who said that civilizations die by suicide, not by, outside forces. And this is exactly what's happening. I mean, you've got people who are exploiting 21st century technology to try and drag all of us back into the Stone Ages.
I think it's important to point out a couple of things. They keep on saying this president is enraging the Muslim community. Really? He went to Saudi Arabia and heads of 50 nations showed up. And the head of NATO was interviewed yesterday on Face the Nation and had nothing but positive things to say about the impact President Trump has made as they started to implement a terror strategy, while emphasizing they've been in Afghanistan for years. So a lot of the negativity is not adding up to the people where a lot of this extremism is born and bred, and that's in the Middle East.
Brian, that's a great point. And let me point out also that you have apologist groups like CARE, who since 9/11 have been urging people in their communities not to cooperate with the FBI, not to become snitches, to do everything to obstruct national security and homeland security efforts to keep us safe. And these people worry that people are going to be alienated, that there's going to be some kind of stigma. The solution is not to walk on eggshells around this, but for truly moderate Muslims to condemn and stigmatize, like we all should, people who want to throw people off of buildings because they're gay, stone them because they look the wrong way at men or women, and do what they've done in Manchester and Westminster on these bridges, from Boston to San Bernardino to Orlando to every major city in our country as well. They deserve a stigma.
Right. Look out. They're not going away. Thanks so much, Michelle. 500 active investigations by MI5, 20,000 who have been looked at in various links to extremism in the UK. That's overwhelming.
It certainly is. All right. It is 7:12 here in New York City, and time for the headlines.